should pick up pretty good. I just want to make sure it's close enough.
Well, I'm not nearly as long-winded as Mr. Miller is. I would like to introduce Sherii as the Distinguished Alumni Award winner for 2021. And I can't think of a person that I know that's any more deserving than Sherii is. Sherii is a kind and giving person, and she has a wonderful sense of humor, and her laugh, you can recognize it anywhere.
Precedes her.
Yes, it does. And there's a saying, if you need something done, ask a busy person, and Sherii is the perfect example of that, because I have never met, again, another person who has their fingers and toes in as much as Sherii does. I don't know how she keeps track of it, yet she still maintains a close relationship with her kids and her family and her parents when they were alive, and of course it helped that they all work at the same place. Sherii is a co-owner and chief operating officer of Thane Publications, and I think I got these all straight, publisher of Senior Times and editor of the Scene magazine. In each of these positions, her goal is to educate and provide information to the community, especially seniors in the community. She's very involved with North Point Woods, Miles for Memory, the Home Again program, which is statewide now, or
Yeah,
going
it's
statewide.
going now.
So that's in itself, if that was the only thing you ever did, that I think is amazing. The Substance Abuse Council, the Food Bank, and many other organizations. And she comes by her history of giving. Honestly, her parents were also givers, and her husband and her family and her kids, and everybody is they're all givers. And between the group, the family, and the publication and the marketing aspect of it, they've helped over 350 different organizations to aid mostly seniors, but everybody in the community really. Sherii is, if you need something, ask Sherii, because she'll do it. She's always the first one to give credit to others. When I was talking to her the other day, she's like, oh, I would be nothing without all the people that I've known over the years, and it's not true, Sherii. It's born in you. I just believe that you're a natural born giver. And no matter who you are, if you're talking with Sherii, you're the most important person on the earth. She's just so, I don't know, just that's it. So anyway, I'm gonna let her, Sherii, talk about herself a little bit, and congratulations. Like I said, you are the most deserving person I've ever known.
Thank you for that. I like to talk about others because that's easier to do than to talk about yourself. So first of all, let me say thank you to Harper Creek Schools, to the Board of Education, to the family, to the community, to all the wonderful people that make these things happen. I couldn't do it without you and all of you, really, all of you. And you find out just how important all these people are to you when you're hurting. I think is a really good way to say that. It's joyous when you come together for things like this, but when my parents passed, the staff was the most amazing folks that helped to make us through. When we had challenges, it was always great to have them come in with new ideas and great ways to bring all those things together. I don't do well receiving awards, and you all know why now, right? I so appreciate those words, Lenore, thank you for that. One of the things that I'd like to say back to Lenore, it's fascinating to me and super precious to me that the way I met Lenore was in a book club. And you'll hear more about this tomorrow, and I'll be brief with it today, but when I was a kid, I couldn't read worth a squat. Nothing. the letters were backwards, the numbers were upside down, and it didn't matter where we went, but by golly, my dad would sit there with me for hours, and we read all the Boxcar Children books, all the Nancy Drew books, Hardy Boy books, you name it. As long as it had more than 3 books in it, we were good, because we could be reading those for a while, right? And it still never made any sense. And I remember one year near the end of the summer while I was in, or near the end of the school year when I was in elementary school, and a friend of mine who also had challenges with reading had a tragedy in their family, which meant she was not going to be returning to school for the rest of the year. So my partner in learning to read was gone, and I asked my dad if it would be okay if we picked up some books from neighbors and brought them over to where they were staying at the hotel, just so that maybe we could still connect, right? And he said, sure, you go right ahead. So I got the little red wagon out, and I went up and down the neighborhood, and I knocked on every door and asked people to donate to this process. And you know, I had great success. By the time I got about 10 doors down, and I had to bring the wagon back because it was full, right? So I went back out, right? Empty the wagon, out you go again. And I did this for a couple of days. And my friend's father said, we've got enough books now, this is good. But I was kind of started with something, and it felt really good. And the neighborhood really joined together to help meet the need of this family. And we still had all of these books. And it was my dad's idea to take all of these books and empty one of the rooms in our house and turn it into a summer library. And that's what we did. And we went to Willard, and I learned how the Dewey Decimal System worked and how to catalog and put all the books in the order in which they belonged. And as part of that process, I didn't realize it, but at the end of the summer, after cataloging and filing and refiling books that someone else had returned and read, one, it was great for the neighborhood, but by golly, I started reading, and I didn't even realize it. I went back to school with a huge new sense of, I wasn't afraid to be called on in the classroom anymore. I was excited to be called on. I was moving forward with education in a whole different way, right? So it was great to then come to graduate from Harbor Creek with honors. It was great to then move on to college. Even better to work at a library and a bookstore, go figure, right? And you know, there were teachers that I had at Harbor Creek that until you start to look back at it, you don't realize at the time just how important they were. And I had great teachers. I had teachers that helped me to take the words in the English language and give me structure to what the heck they were supposed to do. And even in French class, I learned the difference between a direct object and an indirect object. I'm like, what the heck is that, right? But then I knew. And Mr. Murphy was one of my, that was a love-hate relationship right there. Some of you might know him, right? But what he did for me was to help me realize that there was always a story bigger than the one we're looking at, right? There was always something deeper in what you were reading, and your job was to find it in that class. But it didn't just stay in the book of Mice and Men. It transformed out into the real world. So I can look at any one of you standing here or sitting here in the classroom and know that there's so much more to you than what we just said. Like our wonderful Fred. One of the things that is so amazing is that our family goes back generations, families. His parents and my grandparents were friends. His parents and my grandparents spent time together, a lot, right? There's pictures in the family photo album of his family, which is really cool. And it seems to me that I'm just following you all the way around. I'm not sure how that's happening, so I guess I need to know what I'm going to have to do next.
My next trip.
You're great. I love that. So I guess what I want to say is that each and every one of the teachers that I had at this school, well, when we originally moved here when I was a kid, I was devastated, to be frank, because it uprooted my entire world, right? From wherever you were to wherever you're supposed to go, somehow it all gets thrown up in the air. And I had great teachers that came along and made a difference. You know, I heard from Karen Nielsen last night, and it was just a joy to have a chat with her. And to find all along the way those people that said, this is a great place to be, and these are great things to learn, and there's so much more to the teacher that I had, because I learned a lot more about life at the same time. And I think sometimes teachers don't get enough credit for that, right? They don't just teach you the ABCs, they teach you things way beyond that. And so for each of those, I am grateful. And the move that my parents made to Harbor Creek, this is really hard for me to admit, and my sister is sitting here listening to me say this, this was the best thing that my parents really ever did. And it became so very much important that when, you know, as adults, my husband and I picked the place to live. We lived in Harbor Creek, and my children graduated from Harbor Creek. And while my grandbabies might not do that, there are great things that are out there in that whole process. So let me just wrap up a couple of things. I want to be invited to the next barn meeting. I just want you to know that. And the other thing I'm going to say is that the phonics system for learning to read doesn't always work, just so you know. And just take things like Chihuahua, right? From that I learned three things. One, Chihuahuas actually originated in South America. Two, I will never forget how to spell Chihuahua ever again, right? Yeah, and thirdly, there's always more to than what you see. And so for everybody that's been a part of it, thank you, honey. The kids, all of you, I just appreciate it so very much. It's very heartfelt. So, thank you.
Thank you, Sherii, and I'm proud to present you with this award.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
Now, if we're done, I can talk about miles from memories. No, I'm just oh, I get to keep that, don't I?
Okay, so yeah, I'm going to talk just a little bit about those awards. So those are very nice, and we also have another copy that will be hanging in our foyer to our auditorium with all the other award winners that have won the award over the past 5 years. And so that will hang, you know, basically forever in there, and we'll continue to add. Now, I know that I talked to Kathy Reiser earlier, and we're always looking for more nominations, so if you know other great people like Sherii and Fred, let us know. We want to honor them. We want to make this a really big deal year after year after year. With that, I'm going to close by just saying congratulations. You know, I'm inspired by Fred and Sherii. You know, I didn't know you very well, but you know, I was on the show with you. You did make me feel like I was the most important person in the room. So I really felt that as well. We have quite a bit of desserts that are left, and I'd like for you to take a chance to talk to each of these folks, congratulate them, and thank you very much for coming. And I can't wait to hear Sheri's speech tomorrow night. So thank you, and have a great rest of your day.